Hello and welcome to Good News about Rocky River City Schools. My name is Michael Schofen, I'm the superintendent, and today I'm joined by Elizabeth Anderson, our assistant superintendent, and Tina Wasserbauer, our nutrition specialist. We're going to have a great show today, and we're going to talk a lot about the new and improved programs that we're offering in our nutrition services department. Tina, welcome. Liz, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, we have a lot of questions we're going to ask Tina today, and we're excited to learn more about the new programs that are available not only today but ongoing in our school lunches and our school nutrition program. So, Tina, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're our nutrition specialist, and credential-wise, what are some of your background, and how long have you been with us?
I've been in Rocky River for 9 years. This is my 9th year. And I started actually in a district on the east side after graduating from Case with a master's degree in science and a concentration in nutrition and dietetics. I've been a practicing dietitian for over 20 years, and my background has always been in schools, either a school district individually or consulting across the state of Ohio for Ohio School Council districts all over. My time in River has been fantastic because I live close, and the kids are great, the families are great, and the support is great, so I enjoy it here a lot.
Well, we know we're really fortunate to have you as a member of our team and running this department. It has really grown over the years, and so many of the initiatives we're going to get into them as we go on, but all the things that you've done to bring fresh foods into our schools and make them available for our students has just been so welcomed and appreciated. So let's jump into it. So lunches now are available K to 12. Now, when my kids were in school in the early grades, we packed lunches every day. So now there's an option. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's one of the things I'm most proud of having done here in River. It's something that was looked at when I first started 9 years ago, and we've had it on the back burner every year, looking at trying to expand it to Goldwood and Kensington. The parents want it, the students want it, but different things had always impacted the decision. And now this year, and even into last year, after the shutdown, we really looked at this critically and thought, how can we help the most amount of kids across the district? And it made sense. It really made sense. We're not doing it at full capacity, but the option is there for the parents who want it. So we are offering Bistro Box lunches that are delivered to the buildings at Goldwood and Kensington for any child who wants it.
I'm sorry, let me just finish up on one point. You mentioned when we closed down in March in 2020, you and your team continued to provide lunches for families, which was just an outstanding service, and you quickly mobilized not only your staff to prepare the meals, but also getting the food and getting it ready, and you did that every week. Can you tell us a bit about that? And that really has led us to where we are in some ways to today.
Exactly. That was only possible because of the staff that I have working in this department. I mean, this team of people were so dedicated in making sure that we were able to feed the kids even if they weren't here. So they were the ones who really laid the groundwork to make that happen. And we're so dedicated in coming in and reorganizing. We basically shifted modes like everybody in the district. From a Friday to a Monday, we were operating a completely different operational model. So it was a quick turnaround, but the ladies were fantastic at making it happen.
Hey, why don't we finish up talking about COVID and the changes we made, and then we'll go back into the food service program that we have right now. But talk about our cafeterias now. What are we doing to maintain distance? What protective and sanitary measures do we have going on in cafeterias and in the kitchens?
So everything I've observed, the students have been great at following the rules and social distancing themselves, and we did have plexiglass put in all around the registers so that the ladies would have a small barrier between them and the students. We're trying to do as much pre-ordering as we can, so there's not a lot of waiting in line and milling about trying to make decisions about what to order. And a lot of sanitizing. We're doing all of our high-touch surfaces. We're not using the pin pads. We're taking names for the kids instead of them entering their numbers. And then a lot of the door handles, that's the one thing that normally would get overlooked, I think, are the door handles to the coolers and things that kids are constantly touching. Those are cleaned regularly, but now they're cleaned very, very regularly. So, and they've done a great job.
So you mentioned earlier, before we took a little sidestep in talking about COVID and the measures in the spring up until now, you had mentioned bistro boxes. So why don't you tell us what's in a bistro box?
So a bistro box, it looks different at every building, but we did try to streamline it at Goldwood and Kensington just for ease of production. But it's usually a main entree. We try to do kid-friendly things. We have one that is it's called a Lunchable bistro box, and it's crackers and cheese and meats that the kids can assemble into little sandwiches. There's a fruit and a vegetable with it, and they get their milk with it as well, and sometimes a cookie or a little treat of some kind, pretzels or something. And those vary based on age. The high school kids' bistro boxes look a little different because they have a different kind of palate, and they have different options at the high school and middle school as well. Goldwood and Kensington is a 1-week cycle menu, and they get 2 options a day. And then at the high school and middle school, it's a little different, and we're doing hot foods at the high school, middle school too, because we have
Awesome.
facilities. So.
Awesome. Give us an example though of some of those options that are high school and middle school options.
So one of the big sellers is the Bosco sticks. I know we have a lot of
course,
fans of those.
Yes.
So we have a Bosco stick bistro box that comes with a Bosco sticks hot out of the oven with marinara sauce and fresh veggies. We're not doing a lot of salads just because there's not a lot of, the lettuce goes to waste so quickly. But fruits and vegetables with it, a cookie and a milk as well, or a juice. Depends on what it is.
So how do people know what's going to be served in the bistro boxes? Like, where do we get the menus?
So NutriSlice is, it has a mobile app, and it's available through a connection on our website as well. NutriSlice has everything, pictures, nutritional information, carbohydrate counts for students who need to watch that. Allergens are listed. You can filter out by allergens. If you have a milk allergy or a peanut allergy, you can mark that, and it'll cross off all the things that you shouldn't have on the menu, and it's all available for ordering right through NutriSlice.
That is fantastic. Now, can you share with us, as parents, where do we go to access the menu so that we know what's upcoming? And then how do we pay for it?
So that's been a great question. I've had a lot of, this is all new, so there's a learning curve, of course, and sometimes when we think about it and we roll it out, it makes perfect sense to us, and then
Right.
communicating that to everyone else is a little more challenging. But NutriSlice.com has our menus, and then the NutriSlice app on our phones, and you can look at that every day, and you can order right from that up until 8 o'clock in the morning of service. So if you get up late or you're running around scrambling in the morning with your kids, 7:30 in the morning, you can still get that lunch in, and we'll have it for your student at Goldwood and Kensington and the middle school, high school. And then as far as paying, I've gotten that question a lot. You don't pay through NutriSlice. We don't charge any students for the lunches until they have a lunch in their hand. That way, if it's a snow day, everyone's not getting charged for lunches they didn't get to eat. Or if a student wakes up not feeling well and they stay home, it would just kind of be a nightmare of trying to uncharge them and recharge them. So they're not charged until they have a lunch in their hand.
Of course, okay. So with that being said, we've talked a lot about, now we're offering lunches at Kensington and Goldwood. Where are they making the lunches? And it's going to roll into the next question. What is our goal at the high school ultimately? We're trying to, I know we've talked a lot about renovating the kitchen. And so what are your thoughts on how to keep this new program going?
So I did lay the groundwork precisely with that goal in mind, to keep it long term. I definitely don't want to go backwards and have it removed. Right now the middle school is producing for Goldwood, and the high school is making lunches for Kensington. And that was kind of an equitable distribution of the workload for those buildings. What I'm seeing though, as typical, our middle school students are crazy eaters. They eat a lot of them are ordering every day, which we love. So I may have to shift that and look at that for production long term. Eventually, if we go through ahead with the high school renovations, we would definitely use the high school as our central production kitchen for the district.
Okay. Now, do we, right now, currently our lunches are in a box and they're cold, but would the goal and time be to provide hot lunches?
I would love to. It would depend on equipment and holding spots at the other buildings. We have to look at all that, and transportation equipment, keeping the food up to temperature, making sure it's safe by the time it gets to the buildings. Right now it's a little easier. We have our internal transport person taking all of those, and we have refrigeration at the buildings that we're using, so it works out really well. But eventually I would love to see nice hot meals at the elementary buildings as well.
So let's talk about, Mick had mentioned this in the beginning when he introduced you about farm-to-table initiatives. That's something that you've worked hard on, and I've been fortunate enough to sample some of your farm-to-table initiative products. Talk to us about your farm-to-table.
That was also a very exciting adventure for us. Buying locally is so important in helping with the economy and local farmers in our area. We have connected with it's called a food hub, and they actually bring in from various farmers and then distribute to different schools. This was a huge part of our initiative prior to COVID. Now it's become a lot more difficult because there are order minimums and the trucks won't come out unless there's so many dollars of produce on the truck. But prior to that, we were getting, I would say, 50 to 80% of our produce from local farmers, and a lot of that stuff was harvested the morning before we got it, within hours of us getting it. You know it's good when it comes in really dirty and you have to clean it, and you know, it just came right off the farm. So that's been a huge initiative that we've been so proud of.
Yeah, and it's a delicious initiative as
Yes.
well.
Absolutely.
So I do have a question. Okay, so now that we are, have expanded our food service into 4 buildings, and people can pay for lunches, we do still have the option. We used to just have free milk at Goldwood, but now we have also expanded that free program to free and reduced lunches, right, at Goldwood and Kensington. How does someone go about getting on that program if they need it?
Great question. Actually, Goldwood and Kensington have always been a part of the milk assistance program through the government. And when I transitioned them into lunch, we had to remove ourselves from milk, so you can't be part of the milk and the lunch program with USDA. So the lunches include the milk, and I've gotten that question a few times. If a family qualified at the start of the year for free lunch by filling out an application on lunchapp.com, I transitioned them automatically into free lunch. So instead of just getting the milk and the parent having to pack the lunch, they get a whole lunch for free every day, or for 40 cents if they were reduced.
Awesome. Now, let's just say someone doesn't have access to internet at home. Can they call you and you work with them to fill out the application if need be?
Absolutely. We have hard paper copies at all the buildings, can be printed off. We can send it home directly with the student. I can mail it from here for parents as needed. Yes, absolutely. There are lots of ways. And I work with individual parents too. The dynamic has definitely shifted with COVID, and a lot of people are in difficult situations right now. So I feel this year we've probably been able to cast a wider net than ever for the students who really need it.
That's awesome. So good.
Well, Tina, thank you for joining us today. The food and nutrition program that we have in place is really great, and it's growing, and we're really so happy and appreciative of all the work that you've been doing in our lunch services. So thank you for doing that and really having a good vision for where we're going in the future. And appreciate you being here today. Liz, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us today on Good News About the Rocky River Schools.